McGrady, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, you're so cute. Hunter arrived with her sister and her mother in tow, which is my favorite thing.
Yes, they come with me everywhere. Whenever I'm in LA, they come with me.
And whenever I'm in the San Francisco area, my sister's seen me perform probably like 16 times.
I love that.
So she can't be interested. You know what I mean?
No,
like
they're not interested.
She doesn't even come backstage anymore. She stays in the dressing room. I'm like, what's the fucking point of being here?
No,
she
literally.
cruises the audience to see if there are any single men. I'm like, there will never be any single straight men coming to see my show. So stop looking. There's no one.
If they are, that would be a tip off.
Yeah, right.
Red flag.
Yeah, like anyone straight out there
It's
and
like
single.
he's coming to meet women. Actually, it's a great guy. It's a great place to cruise for women because my audience is so female heavy.
I love it.
Hunter, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm actually in on vacation, and I was like, of course I'm going to do Chelsea. Are you kidding? With Doug?
Doug's
yes,
here too.
yes.
Yeah. Where were you vacation? Oh, you're on vacation.
Yeah,
this
so
is your vacation.
I'm born and raised here.
I love
in
your
LA.
eyebrows.
Are
they real?
They're real, but I'm wondering if it's eyebrow blindness, which I'm seeing on TikTok now.
They're perfect.
And I'm afraid I'm going to look back and people are going to be like, that was eyebrow blindness.
That means you can't see your own eyebrows?
It means that you've done them so gnarly and so crazy.
Is that what I look like?
No,
Tell me the
yours
truth.
look
Because
that,
I'm
I
using a
swear
new
to
product
God.
that it feels like there's semen in my eyebrows because it's hard and gelatinized.
It goes up.
But I like the look of it where it's kind of fuzzy and it looks like hair. You know what I mean?
Good. I promise
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Promise
You're a model, so you need to tell me the truth because I'm not.
I'll tell you the truth. Here's the thing. I will be so honest that it sometimes hurts the feelings, but I will be honest.
Congratulations on your Sports Illustrated
Thank you.
issue. And I was interested in speaking to you because you talk so much about body positivity, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know what you think about the term plus size model.
So it's funny. I'm kind of like, even with body positivity, like now I'm just like body neutrality because we can't always all be positive all the time about our body, right? Like you can also be neutral about it. And that's also so cool. And I think the word plus size, when I first started out, because I was in this toxic diet culture mindset, I was like, oh, don't call me a plus size model. That's mortifying. And now I'm like, I'm so proud of it. That's what made me who I am. That's what gave me all my success, you know? And now I could take it or leave it, whatever anyone wants to say.
That's interesting, body positivity versus body neutrality, because it is true. How are you supposed to be fucking positive about something all the time? No one's positive about anything all the time.
Right.
Well, that's the thing also is I think that like media has also taken it and really spun it in such a negative way where like so many brands are saying like we're inclusive, we're positive, and then you really go in, none of them make my size, you use the token plus size girl, and it's just gotten so muddied.
But why? Well, I don't understand why these brands don't make bigger sizes. It's not like there are only small women.
They're leaving money on the table. And now brands are even pulling back even more because we are in this Ozempic era, which fine. I cannot sit here and be like staunch pro-choice and then say, but you can't do that to your body. Do whatever the fuck you want, right? Like literally do whatever you want, take whatever you want. But know that you could lose the weight and still not feel 100% confident. And it starts with your mind, right? Like it starts with here first. I was talking to my sister about this. I had a girlfriend of mine and she's on Ozempic and she was like, I've lost 15 pounds. I'm at the weight that I told myself that I would feel confident in. And I just don't feel good. And I was like, well, yeah, of course, because you bought into the lie that thin equals confidence. That's just not the truth. Confidence is like a journey. It comes from within, right? I'm not a thin woman, but I'm a confident woman.
And you would never take Ozempic?
No, I have not ever.
You haven't?
No.
Right,
but I'm not against it.
Right.
I'm really not.
It's
whatever anyone wants to
exactly.
do. It's not I can't say anything about your body. You do what you want to do, you know? But I think that like you do what you want to do, but just know that confidence is a mind thing. And that's work, right?
Yeah. And therapy has helped you with a lot of that confidence stuff, right?
I'm such a proponent for therapy.
I've
been in therapy since I was 15 years old.
Well, I mean, it's so fucking obvious that if you can go to therapy, you fucking should go. Like no one goes to therapy and be like, and is like, it ruined my life.
Right.
You know, unless you end up fucking your therapist, which we advise against.
Listen, yeah, 100%. It's like
you
when
say
people
that like you had sex with a therapist. There was a lot of hesitation there, Hunter.
I did have a hot therapist once.
Well, that's the
And
first
that's-
sign. No, you
that's a
can't
red
have a
flag.
hot
You
therapist.
cannot.
I once went to couples therapy with a boyfriend, and I was attracted to the therapist right away. And I was like, "This is not a good idea." I'm
It's
just
not a
telling
good
you right
idea.
now. This is my type. He's older at the time. I only liked older men, and I was like, because I had daddy issues.
Yeah.
And I was attracted to him, and I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, he's gonna fix me. This is the exact dynamic that I need to stay away from."
Yeah.
Any sort of mentor figure,
Run
I will
for the
become
hills.
attracted to.
Run for the hills, 100%. And I always think about like therapy, like when people tell me they're getting a divorce and they're like, I'm so sorry, but like no happy marriage ends in divorce. So I'm like, good for you. You're doing the thing. Same with therapy.
Yeah.
You're not going to ever go into therapy and it's going to be bad.
So you haven't been with the same therapist since you were 15, or have
No, I haven't. I've
Yeah.
bounced around. I've gone.
I like that too.
I have a grief therapist. I have, my own personal therapist. I'm very much a proponent for it. I think even if you think you have no reason to go, and they'll find stuff to work past.
And I know that it's not affordable for everybody, which is why we're constantly sponsored by BetterHelp on this podcast, because anyone can access like affordable therapy and it's worthwhile. And that's not an ad. That's just
We
a
love
side
BetterHelp
note.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. So I know you lost your brother.
Yeah.
I also have a brother that has passed away.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
Gosh, this was just 3 years ago.
Oh, so it's
It's
so
very
that's
new.
still-
We were actually talking about this because my mom and we watched your special. I think it was, when was your most recent special?
Oh no,
out?
you're talking about Revolution on HBO Max, where I talk about my brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was so healing to me.
Oh, thank you.
It really was.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it was because, sorry, but it is. It's like, it's something that is just going to change you forever,
Yeah.
And it's like sibling loss is very nuanced and not talked about. So it was very healing.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's almost like with sibling, I think the sentence that I learned the most from was celebrating someone's life
Yes,
instead
completely.
of, obviously you have to grieve your brother.
Yeah,
We all
yeah.
do. And I can't even imagine what that's like for parents.
Yeah.
But when you can move into the celebration of their life and to allow them to, as a guiding light in your own life,
Yeah.
when you're making tough decisions and you think of the person you lost that you love so much,
Yeah.
and infuse your decision making with that loss and that love for a person, I think that's when the grief starts to move into a place that you're like, we're always going to be upset. There's always going to be emotion tied to it, but it can be the most useful and loving way to accept someone's departure is to make sure they're with you every step of the way.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I often like bring up my brother when it comes to even my when people talk about weight or their body or the weight, and I'm like, life is so fucking short. That is so goddamn boring to talk about. If you're always worrying about that, like you can be gone tomorrow.
But I mean, even back to what you're saying, this is not related to grief, but how much time I wasted in my youth focusing on my body and the way that I looked, the hours of like browbeating that I did to myself. If only I were 5 pounds lighter. I won't go out tonight because of how much I weigh. I'm going to run 6 miles tomorrow. And then I would weigh myself when I went running, before I went running. And then I'd sweat for an hour and a half, come home, weigh myself then.
Yeah.
I mean, this psychotic behavior around our body images, like I can't wait for a generation of women to wake up and not have to deal with that.
Me too.
It's happening now because Hunter, I know when you first started modeling, you were like rail thin and were told like, it's still not enough. You got to lose, 3 inches on your head?
Yeah. And I was 114 pounds and I'm 6 feet tall.
Right.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I grew up, my dad's an actor, my mom was a model, and I grew up in this industry. I grew up in LA, and it was like, that was just the norm, right? And so I thought, well, okay, I'm just going to have to be the smallest version of me if I want anything to do with this dream of mine. And finally, there was a breaking point where I showed up to a job and I was so thin. I was in a very massive calorie deficit, working out hours a day, miserable, had severe depression, anxiety. I showed up and everyone was kind of looking at me, and they came over to my mom and I and they said, "We're so sorry. We don't think you're going to fit in any of the clothes. We didn't realize how big you were." I was 50. I wasn't even a full grown woman. I was 15 years old. I haven't even like fully developed yet. But I was smart enough to know in that moment, A, I need to get help because I'm severely depressed. B, fuck this. Because if this is what it takes for me to live out this dream of being a model, like I'm out. So I took 5 years off and I did immense self-help work. And that's when I kind of fell into the plus size modeling. And then once I got Sports Illustrated, I've been with them for 7 years since I was 22. And it was just a massive like
pendulum swing
for me. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that when women are always told to become smaller and men are always trying to become bigger?
Do you want to know something so funny? The other day, an article popped up and it was like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are promoting an unrealistic body ideal because they're so jacked. I'm like, you can't win. You literally can't win.
No.
Like, I can't win. I have Donald Trump Jr. talking about my body. I have Fox News talking about my body being too big. Then you have Hugh Jackman being too I'm like, you literally can't win.
I like how political you are. Tell me about your like history. Like, when did you get involved in politics, and when did you start really caring, or have you always?
I've always cared because my sister and my mom are very, very political. They're like strong, powerful women. My sister is very vocal about it. And for the longest time, I was like, I have to kind of be in the background because it's not good for the image to pick it. And my sister was like, if you don't stand for anything, like you stand for fucking nothing. So pick a side, sister, and like, let's do our research. And so, you know, in the last few years, I think in the last election, when Trump came in, I got just really riled up and I was like, I'm done. And especially this election, all of a sudden Fox News started posting me. Donald Trump Jr. posted me saying, you know, go woke, go broke, Sports Illustrated. You want to have someone who's, you know, big on in your magazine. Little did he know that I was going to get the cover a month later. So like, that's that. Yeah. Because there's too much on the line. There's too much on the fucking line.
Yeah.
And I'm a woman in this world where my rights are on the line. And I have people in my life where their lives are on the line.
And you have children.
I have fucking children where their lives are on the line. And like, I send my son to school and I'm worried every day. Like it's too much is at stake. I have a platform and I'm going to use it. And I think that we all have that responsibility, honestly. Like we should be using our platforms. You use yours so brilliantly. Because a lot of people are afraid to.
They are afraid to. And I also think that is a learning curve as well. Like, I remember when you're talking about Donald Trump becoming elected, listen, I was with you there, sister. I almost had a fucking nervous breakdown. I may have had one. I'm not sure. But at the time, I was so angry. And like, and it became so divisive. And then you realize, like there's been an evolution in my messaging because I want to be happy and positive.
Yes.
I don't want to be hateful and vitriolic. I want actually to spread the good vibes.
Yep.
And I've realized to not be hand in hand with the candidate all the time, to actually be speaking from my own platforms where it's not like you can confuse or obfuscate what I'm doing with being paid to be promoting a candidate or this candidate. No one's I'm not for sale. So no one's paying me to do fucking anything.
Right. I was just invited by the Harris team to her rally in Pennsylvania. And I got so many messages from people being like, oh, this is paid. This is so classic. It's paid. And I'm like, no, listen, I don't agree with all the policies that Kamala Harris has. I don't. And I definitely don't believe with any of Trump's. But like, I'm here to say, like you're saying, I'm voting at what I align with. And I agree. There is so much divisiveness. And that's why we are having the issue that we're having. I believe there's 3 parties. There's the Republican, the Democrat, and the Trump supporters. And they don't care if I'm mad. So why am I going to sit here and be mad? I have 2 children I have to worry about.
Right.
You know, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to use my voice for good and speak out about that and try to make a change where I can, but not let it affect me so much where I'm go down with them.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the Trump administration almost stole 4 years of my life. Like, you're not getting me
don't
again.
Get that anymore. No. You got me once. Good.
Right.
Good on you. But
it's like an abusive relationship.
It is.
Right.
It is. And that's literally how I feel like so many people feel. I feel the same way. Me and my sister were like out there on the lines with signs. And, you know, after a while, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to change my messaging and spin it and be positive and say like, okay, we have this here. This like future can look bright.
And I think that's circling back to talking about your brother's death. It's almost like it's analogous in a way. It's about taking something devastating and turning it into something inspiring, right?
Yeah.
And actually making positives out of fucking mincemeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it can happen.
And I think that's such a powerful tool to be able to do. Like, I'm sure even in the 3 years since you've lost your brother, you've seen the dynamic between your remaining family and how that's shifted, right?
Oh, the moment it happened, we all got together and my mom and my dad said, listen to me right now. This can either make us or break us. It's not going to break us. So we're all going to come together. My parents are divorced and we've spent every single day on this vacation all together with their grandkids in the house. My dad's remarried. Like, we're going to the beach together. And of course, along the way, we're like, oh, I wish my brother was here. I wish Tynan could be here to see it. But like, we have gotten so close. We spend Christmases all together. Like, I would have never thought my dad and my mom would even be in the same room with each other at one point. And now we're spending Christmases together.
Well, and again, it comes back to this, like, what are we really going to worry about here? We're going to worry about the small stuff, the like, I'm annoyed with you because of this. No, when you go through something that devastating and huge, you realize like how that stuff's just minutia.
It's so minutia.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, for it should be. It should be, but it reminds me of a story that I need to share and it's not funny at all. My cousins lost their brother and I was there in the room in the hospital after he had passed away. We were all sitting there and my aunt and uncle had separated. We're not on speaking terms. And then we're all gathered around, it's a horrible day, one of the most horrible days in everyone's life, if not the most. And I remember my uncle putting his hand on my aunt's leg and was like, we need to come together. And she's like, get the fuck off of me.
Yeah.
Like, this is not your opening. Yeah. Our son is dead. And I still don't fucking want anything to do with you.
Get out. Yeah. No, 100%. Well, that's what I mean, right?
But I mean, the spirit of it should be what you're describing. But I think my uncle was actually trying to get back together in the hospital room. So that was also, tonally way off base.
Right.
But that's exactly what you're describing sounds like.
Did it make your family come together?
When your brother dies, you feel like you're the only person
in the
like
world.
that. It's such a rare thing. And then as I've talked about it, as I've written about it, so many people have come to me and you're like, God, it's not something that's so common, but it's more common than you think.
Yeah.
And so many people have lost brothers. So I think experiencing my cousins losing their brother, I remember just all I knew was how to help the situation.
Yeah.
Like, I've been through this. I'm going to take care of whatever you guys can't deal with in this moment. I'll take care of the funeral. I'll take care of this arrangement. I'll take care of buying a casket. I'll take care of all this stuff. No one has the capability to deal with something when someone is pulled out of your life unexpectedly.
Yeah.
No one has any idea what to do. So somebody has to step up and do that.
Yeah.
So I think it was useful for me to have gone through that because I was at an age when my brother died, I wasn't in charge of anything. I was 9 years old.
Right. But you kind of like immediately get equipped with this armor to deal with life in a different way. And I mean, at 9, that's like such an impressionable age. And I'm sure a lot of people were like, she's 9, she's going to get over it. But it's like, no, this is now I've created this armor for the rest of my life of like how I'm going to move through life. Like, I move through life differently than I did 3 years ago. I can handle things now that that would have broken me.
You were pregnant with your first child, right? When he passed. So what was the experience going through this extreme grief and then suddenly having this huge amount of joy in your life?
Yeah, that was very weird because, I called my doctor and I was like, I'm flying home. And she was like, you're giving birth in like 6 weeks, you can't. And I was like, I don't fucking care. I'll give birth on this plane. When I got back, I gave birth pretty much, 5 weeks after. It was very weird. Yeah. It was very weird, but it taught me. So I didn't mean to cry. I'm fine with tears.
Don't apologize for crying.
No,
if you're gonna fucking learn anything, if anyone, our listeners are gonna learn anything, we are not apologizing for our tears anymore.
That's true. And I'm
all
always
want.
a crier on any platform. I think it made me realize that extreme sadness can only be known with extreme joy, right? And vice versa. Like it was the weirdest time because I was like, how can I be the most devastated? And honestly, before I had my son, I was like, I don't think anything will be able to make me happy again,
Yeah.
But then he came out and oh my God, and I would never want to put this on him, but like he saved a lot of us. And I never want to like put that pressure on him. And I'm not, I never am like, you're the one who saved us. But he brought so much healing. And he's so much like my brother.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
my
I think
God.
those things happen, it's kind of like these rainbows in life when you lose someone you love and then there's someone always has a baby. Right.
No, it's so
It's
true.
so weird the way that works in a family. Like you can lose your father and then you have a baby. You lose your brother and you have a baby. And it's like there's a transfer of life. And there's like, you think about reincarnation and you're like, is that a possibility? Oh my God, what is this?
I swear, because like I look like my son has my brother's exact feet. Like he has his exact humor. I'm like, Bubba, you in there? Like it's so wild. It's so wild. And it does bring that like sense of joy and relief, but it was really weird to also like not grieve. I think I was definitely a different mom to my son than I am to my daughter because I was in such heavy grief. It affected my supply. My supply dried up like pretty almost immediately. Like I couldn't breastfeed him. It's all that like up and down. Whereas my daughter, I'm like, oh, it was easy peasy, comparing like the two of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Gabor Mate, this psychiatrist from Canada or psychologist, I'm not sure what he is. We've had him on the podcast before, so I guess I wasn't paying attention. But he always talks about that you're not the same parent regardless to your children. Every child, you're a different parent to based on what their needs are, their sex, their personality.
Yeah.
My sister was so freaked out by her daughter when she found out her daughter was having sex. Meanwhile, her son is the same age. And she's like, I'm like, is he having sex? Now he's the same age. And she's like, oh, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, interesting reaction that you were fucking losing your shit 3 or 4 years ago. And now you have no reaction to your son. I'm like, do you realize how sexist that is?
It's insane. It's really insane. I'm the opposite with my daughter. Like literally when we came out for vacation a couple of years ago, as first time mom, I'm like, we have 3 hours until Hudson needs to get home for a nap. This time I'm like, if they fucking nap, they nap. Yeah. If they eat, they eat. Like, I don't care. And it's so much more relaxed. Like, I think the second time you're just like,
well, yeah, imagine the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth child
raising themselves.
Because
you come from 6, right?
Yes, I'm the youngest of 6. So I was basically fucking
yourself.
like, I had a job when I was like 3 months old. I was like, holy shit.
Yes.
I really got to pitch in around here.
Yeah, right?
I mean, talk about neglect. But yeah, my sister I always tell the story of my sister. I'm sure they are very appreciative of me sharing their personal lives with the world. But, again, I don't care.
Right.
Because they're my stories too. My sister, when she had her third, like, how they always stick up like something up their nose, children, like at some age,
always.
like in school, they stick an eraser in their asshole, vagina, or nose. And all 3 of my sister's kids, her last kid did it. And her last kid did it. She has 3. Was in like, nursery school. And they're like, oh, Seneca has an eraser stuck in her nose. And Simone was like, we'll just wait until Monday. It's late on a Friday, on a Friday afternoon. Like before, you're fucking at the emergency room thinking that they're fucking going to have like, brain damage from a fucking eraser or whatever the hell they stuck up their nose.
Yes.
And then cut to the third and you're like, whatever.
We'll give it a solid week and then we'll check back in.
My sister has like a lead pencil in her leg. One of my sisters, because she like got stabbed with a pencil and my parents she was number 5 and they never took her to the hospital. So you could still see the fucking pencil in her leg.
Isn't that weird? I think I also have that.
I'm like, that can't be good.
Like that's like something I'm like,
that cannot be good for you.
No.
Yes.
All right. Well, on stabbing yourself with pencils and putting erasers in your vagina, but even though Seneca didn't do that, I just want to say she put it in her nose. We'll take a break and we'll be right back with Hunter McGrady. We're back with Hunter McGrady.
We are back.
Look at how fucking handsome Doug is, standing there like a lion. He looks like the Lion King. Can you see him?
Yeah,
really
he's so sweet.
So good looking.
He's a good dog. He literally came up and I was like, oh my God, he's just so like,
he's a lover.
Just want to snuggle
He's a lover,
him.
and he's got so much meat.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so comforting to just snuggle with him. Okay.
Well, our first caller is Abby, and she says, Dear Chelsea, I'm struggling with my body image. I'm a 34-year-old woman of color, child-free, recently married, and I have a job I enjoy. For the first time, I've gained some extra weight, and I'm having a hard time with everything that comes along with that. I was an athlete in high school and kept reasonably active in university and in my 20s. My dog died at the beginning of the year, and I guess I didn't realize how active he kept me or how hard I took this very sudden loss. He was my first pet and really taught me so much. I'm now trying to do very long walks, 3 to 4 days a week. I've been at it all summer, and this week I'm incorporating weights. I try to make it fun and do active things with my husband and friends. The problem is I cannot stop hating what I'm seeing. I also understand that the weight I've gained is a lot for me, but I know I'm catastrophizing, and I can't stop comparing my body to other bodies I see. Big, small, whatever. I'm looking and I'm thinking, do I look like this person? Why don't I look like that person? Every time I get dressed for work and something doesn't fit like it once did, I have a complete meltdown. My, quote, baggy jeans have now become the only ones that fit, and I have to dress nicely for work, so I enjoy being stylish and put together. I'm noticing these urges to do unhealthy things in an effort to lose weight, and it seems easier to try and starve myself or restrict my eating. This is all taking a toll on my relationship with my husband. While he has no issues with my body and is completely supportive of me, it's the meltdowns and the negative self-talk that are causing conflict for us. How do I stop hating my body so much? Abby.
Hi, Abby.
Hi, Abby.
Hello.
Hi, this is Hunter, our special guest today.
Hi.
Nice to
You're
meet you.
gorgeous. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hunter, do you want to start?
You know, you're not alone. We all are feeling this. I think, like I was talking to Chelsea earlier, how I'm all about body neutrality, right? Like, I think getting to that place in your body of knowing, instead of seeing your body for the way that it looks, right? We're in the age of social media where we see so many different types of bodies all day long. We are comparing, our bodies to that. We also have to realize that, like, Facetune exists. I always say, like, not even the models in the magazines look like the models in the magazines. Trust me, I'm one of them. And also just comparing yourself is just going to steal so much of your joy. And also realizing, like, your body does so much for you. Your body does so much for you. Thinking of your body in that manner will just change your life. I had a therapist tell me at 16 that changed my world. I've done it every single day since. She told me to stand in the mirror after showering, look in the mirror completely naked, slick back your hair, like literally get down to your stubs, girl, like where you are no makeup, nothing. And I want you to have a full-blown conversation with yourself, telling yourself 5 things that you want to love about yourself. They're probably not going to be things that you actually love about yourself, because for me, it was really hard. At first I thought this is the dumbest fucking exercise ever because I'm not going to do it. But I went home and I was like, my therapist said to do it. I'm going to give it a try. I looked in the mirror and I said 5 things I wanted to love about myself. My hips, my arms, I had stretch marks. I was 16 and I had stretch marks. On my inner thighs, I had like ingrown hair bumps and things like that. I broke down in tears so bad, but I pushed through and I kept doing that exercise every single day. And can I tell you, Abby, what happened? Instead of those being things that I wanted to love about myself, they became things that I did love about myself because I was telling my brain that. I've done that exercise every single day since. I don't maybe get down to my stubs now, but I look in my rearview mirror in my car. My husband at first thought I was crazy. But now it's so natural for me to say, God, you know what? I love those things. And now it's so much deeper even than just my body. I love my spirit. I love my soul. I love what I offer to the world.
And your strength.
My strength.
Like your strength of as a woman.
Yes.
Like that is what we need to be thinking about. You're just being a product of your environment. Like the way you're thinking is a product of the way we've been taught to talk about and think about our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been what we've been fed. So like
Yep.
you allowing them to rob you of the joy, first of all, whatever's happening is temporary, right? Like every situation we're in is temporary. It's not permanent. If you want to, lose weight, that's fine. That's okay. But you can't shame yourself for where you are in the current. You're doing things to help yourself to be stronger, to be healthier. I love that you're going for long walks. Walking is so fucking good for you. Weights are so good for you. But you want to change the framework to being strong, not to being thin or skinny. You want to be strong. Like I'm the strongest I've ever been. And that's all I care about is my strength. And because of that, I'm smaller than I've ever been because I'm a huge into weights and everything. And yes, I have the same issues we all do about bodies. Like, but I know now that this whole narrative around women and their bodies doesn't get to control me and my fucking mood. I'm not going to have a breakdown because I don't fit into jeans. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's very honest of you to admit that, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Can I give you the best tip for when you have a breakdown because jeans don't fit? This is going to be life-changing, guys. Ready? Buy a bigger size.
Yeah.
Buy the bigger size.
Nothing will make you feel worse than clothes that don't fit
It means
and make you feel
nothing.
awful.
The number means nothing.
You're the only one who knows what the number in the jeans is.
And I feel like I'm surrounded by it, right? The way you described it of being like a stealer of joy is a real thing. I described in my letter that, a lot of really great things are happening in my life, but I feel like I am so distracted by this one thing, so distracted by this like negative self-talk and just like this negative way I have of looking at myself.
Well, you just need to get up and write those 10 things down every single day. I want you to write 10 things down every single morning of what's going well in your life. Because I promise you that will change the channel of the way you're thinking about yourself. Because we can't miss the moment we're in. And when we're so preoccupied with the way we look, we miss all of the good stuff, So you have to know you're taking steps to get the body that you are more comfortable in. In the meantime, there's no reason to like self-immolate. You can't beat yourself up about that stuff because it's taking away from all the other good things in your life. And so a great exercise, and I've done this, we've had so many people on the show do this, really like start your gratitude list every morning and being like, these are the 10 things I'm happy about. And even say, I'm on my way to having the body that I want to have. But there's no reason to, again, rob the joy of the present moment. And look in the mirror and look how beautiful that is. Look at the strength that comes from within your body. Like, it's not just about the outside of the body. It's about all the things that are working inside that give you the strength and ability to walk around every day, to want to lift weights, to have clarity of mind. It's just, you're just changing the channel on your conversation with yourself.
And another trick that's really helpful is thinking about how you would speak to your best friend. Like, you would never say to your best friend, like, oh my God, your tummy is spilling over those jeans, or like your thighs look really big today, or like, I hate the way you look in that. You would never say that to another person. So when you hear yourself saying that to yourself, change it around. Like, I don't like the way my tummy looks right now, but like, think about like what your tummy does. It's nourishing you. It's really like helping you live. There are brain cells in there.
But also there's a sexiness.
Yeah.
Like when you have a little extra meat on you, it's fucking hot. And it can be sexy if you think it is. Going out and getting a bigger size pant, you just said yourself how important it is for you to be stylish at work. Like if you're hiding yourself, you're not being stylish, right? You're covering up because of the way you're feeling of insecurity. But if you actually get the clothes that fit you for this moment that you're going through in time and feel good about yourself every day, you're going to have a different conversation with yourself. And it's not like you've given up, like, now that I bought these clothes, I'll never get back to the size that you feel more comfortable in. It's like, no, I've got a little extra meat on me. That's fucking sexy. Flaunt it. Don't try to hide it. Embrace it. Like, embrace what's coming your way and like the moment that you're in, because I feel like that's also a better way to move through everything.
And comb through who you're following on Instagram. There are a lot of girls out there who are different body types, curvy girls who have so much good style, and get rid of the people who do not serve you. Because I know, girl, you're scrolling on social media. I know you're scrolling on Instagram and doing all the things and comparing yourself. Get the people who serve you, who make you feel good.
And I bet your husband likes a little extra curve on you.
I think he does. Like, he doesn't have any complaints about it. I'm the one,
I know, because of society, but like lean into that. Lean into the fact that he likes it. When you're getting dressed, dress for him. I would never say that unless you were dealing with this issue. But seriously, think about the sexual nature of that. You know that your husband wants you. You know that he's turned on by that. When you get up and go to work, get dressed. Like, it doesn't matter what the weight is that you are, but to embrace every single thing you have in that moment, in terms of your body. Embrace your curves, embrace your hips, embrace your belly, your breasts, all of it.
Absolutely.
Love yourself up.
Yeah, you deserve it, Abby.
Yes, you do.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, keep us posted, okay?
Absolutely. I love the action items. I am going to do that. I do journal, so that's something I can kind of work into my process.
Great.
And I like the idea of, thinking about the things that I'm grateful for, because there really is a lot. Like, there's so much. It's just that I feel like I have my blinders on when I'm only seeing,
Mhm.
this one thing, or fixating, I guess, on this one thing. So thank you so
Mhm.
much.
You're so welcome. You're
Absolutely.
so welcome.
Thank you
Take care.
again.
Bye,
All right.
Abby.
Bye.
There's something that happens too. I know for me, it happened during, as for a lot of people, it happened during the pandemic, where our bodies, especially when we go through a loss like she did with her dog, it may be that she's not walking as much as she was before, but it also may be that her body is trying to put on this like extra layer of protection and comfort around her. I know that that's like something that I've experienced in my life during harder times. And, I like that you said that it can be temporary. Like she may gain weight, she may lose weight, but she has to learn to love herself right now where
Yeah.
she's at.
Well, I think we put so much emphasis on it as a society, right? Like as a plus size model, if I'm on the cover of anything besides Sports Illustrated, it was the first time I was on the cover of anything where they didn't mention my body. It's usually, Hunter McGrady talks about how, she's so comfortable in her body. Anytime there's an article written, I'm like, that's the least important thing about me. That's like
It's
the
just
least
such a
interesting.
stupid thing to comment on. Like it shouldn't even be a plus size model. It should just
It's
be
just a model.
everyone, whoever's a model is a model, and then you see a picture of them, and then you can interpret that however you want and see it however you
Right.
want. But to have to qualify, because what's the opposite of a plus size model? Oh, here's an
Here's skinny
anorexic
comedian Chelsea Handler. Everyone, take a round of applause. People would be like, "This is so
That'd be such a
bizarre."
weird way to say that. Yeah.
I know that my whole, I know that I've been able to shift my mindset around weight, because when you just called me skinny, that wasn't a compliment to me.
Oh, I love that you're saying that.
Like
yeah.
that, I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to be that my whole life.
Yeah.
Is I wanted to be skinny and thin so that people thought I had an eating disorder.
Yeah.
I thought that was make me happy, and I don't want that. I want to be strong. That's like Ben Bruno just got me new weights because I lift and I don't lift, but I sound like I'm from New Jersey because I am. But I don't. But he got me 30-pound weights, and it's like, oh, that's a victory.
That's
like
a
I'm
huge
lifting 30
victory.
pounds.
Yes.
I'm doing bicep curls with 30 pounds. Like
Heck
that's
yeah.
fucking hardcore. So
Yes.
that's what I'm excited about now, and I'm so glad I just had that reaction to being called skinny, because I was like, no, I'm not skinny. I'm fit.
Oh, I love that. We're
Yeah.
we're just
learning.
a breakthrough.
Yeah, and so I know I've reframed my
Yes.
brain around it.
Yes.
And even when I have gained 5 or 7 pounds, for me it is about my mental clarity is the most important thing. But when I put on 5 or 7 pounds, I do not have the same reaction I used to have.
Right.
I actually do go, oh, you're a little bigger girl right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show your booty. Now you have a booty.
Yeah.
Show it off. Like I do embrace it in a different way. So I just feel like we can all do a little bit better about ourselves.
Absolutely. And like I said to Abby, like comb through your social media.
Yes.
Whoever is not serving you, like just mute them, block, whatever you have to do, because we're all, whether we like it or not, we're all on it all day long.
Well, and it does help. I know for me, it really helped me like finally accept like my body and what my body looks like, and also like why my body is sexy and beautiful.
Yeah.
By following women who looked like me,
Yeah.
who looked sexy and beautiful on Instagram. It took a while, but then one day it was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is powerful.
Well, this is a little bit more on bodies. I wanted to get the other side of the coin of how to have these conversations within family. And especially, I know having kids, this is something you've said you would never speak negatively about your body in front of your kids. So this question comes from Whitney. Whitney says, Dear Chelsea, my mom has criticized me about my weight since I was a child. She's never accepted me for me, even at my thinnest, a whopping 120 pounds in high school. The comments and bullying continued. I've never stuck up for myself when these comments are made. No one has. I'm now 33 years old and have become an aunt to my 3-month-old niece. My brother, his family, and I went back to my parents' house for a long weekend. My mom began making comments to my niece, her granddaughter. She said how she needs to work on her waistline because her shorts don't fit and how fat her legs are. You know, like we do like a little chunky leg baby, to a growing ass baby. I got up and walked away. These comments triggered so much for me, and I have not talked to my mom since the trip. I'm ready to talk to my mom after all these years of abuse. My niece cannot be another victim of this kind of
Perfect.
talk.
Good.
How do I talk to her in a way that she'll hear me and stop perpetuating the cycle?
Write a
Whitney.
letter.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Write a letter and start from the very beginning. These are the memories of the things that you've said to me about my body, like your first imprint, your first memory of her saying that, and list multiple examples. And then describe how that made you feel. And this isn't an angry letter. This is she clearly has no idea the impact of her words.
Yeah.
She has no idea how damaging this is. And you are never going to let her do this to another person.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. I also think like you're now a grown woman, set those boundaries and tell her sister, who is the mother of her niece, these are boundaries. We can talk about anything. We can't talk about this. That's off the table. No questions asked. Do not bring it up.
Right.
I think that that's so important. I think as we're seeing the generations, like our parents, that was so something they talked about, right?
Yep.
Like, don't eat that. Eat a handful of almonds. Like now they call them almond moms. Like, set that boundary. We're not talking about that, mom.
And I think as you go into writing this letter, have a moment where you realize like this was how your mom was talked to.
Yeah.
And have a little bit of empathy
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like as you go into it, so you can release some of that anger.
When I say you're never going to allow that to happen to your niece, I mean that as advice to you,
Yeah.
not as something that you need to tell your mother. I mean, you can say that to your mother, but you don't have to say it in that kind of language. You exactly go into this knowing that your mother didn't know better, and you are going to be the tool to help her understand how to better behave in the future and what the impact of those negative words can have on someone's body image.
Yeah. And also good on you for having the wherewithal to know that, right? Like to know that this really messed me up and I don't want that for my niece. Like that, Whitney, you've already grown so much from breaking that cycle and that trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's called a cycle breaker. I love
Cycle
that.
breaker.
Yeah, cycle breaker. When
Yeah.
you break the cycle within your family.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do.
Yeah. You're going to be it, Whitney. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, our next question is kind of a toughie. This comes from Colton. He says, Dear Chelsea, a few months ago, my little brother died by suicide. I'm 27 and he was 20. As a gay man from a very small conservative town, I've put some distance between myself and where I grew up. I have a little sister who's a teenager, and her and my mom are very much struggling with the loss of my brother. She doesn't know how to cope and doesn't want to share her feelings or emotions, at least with me. How can I support them and care for them when I don't live close? And Chelsea, I'd love your insight on being a young girl losing their older brother. Am I right to push her to confide in me and open up about her emotions? I'm still trying to navigate the grieving process myself while trying to move on with my own life. I adore my family and want to be around for them, but I also still need to work on figuring out my own identity, and that includes putting more distance between me and my negative small-town childhood. P.S. My younger brother and I would watch Chelsea lately all the time. He was probably too young, but those are memories I'll cherish forever. Any feedback is greatly appreciated, Colton.
I think whatever you can do to get your sister to start talking, whether it's, I don't know if you can afford getting her own therapist or setting something up for her online, but like, forget about you having to create distance between you and your family in that small town. That's a separate issue. We're just talking about your brother's death right now, and that doesn't require you to even be there in person to go back home. That just requires you to keep a dialogue going with your sister, and that is something that you have to do for her mental health in order to get her to start talking, because this will only fester and manifest in her life in a negative way if she doesn't get the conversation going.
Yeah.
So you have to just kind of be tireless in your efforts to engage with her about your brother, and to possibly, if you guys can afford it, start seeing a therapist. And even if that's something that you do on a Zoom with her for like grief counseling, like you only have to do this 10 times with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just have to open the door so that she can begin the conversation. And then you can either hop out of that, or you guys can do it together as a family, which I think would probably be really healing. I mean, there's individual grief and then there's familial grief. And you want to be able to be well versed in both of those things. But if you don't push your sister, you're older and wiser. So you have a responsibility to really try to get in there. And it doesn't have to be aggressive. It can be like a soft, safe place, whatever. I don't know her personality, but I know how rigid I became when my brother died. I refused to talk about it because I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. I couldn't allow myself the vulnerability, and I didn't want to allow myself to cry. It was embarrassing. I felt crying was embarrassing. So like you just have to create a space and a dialogue between the two of you where she knows she can come there, where she can be vulnerable and she can cry. And it might require you to be vulnerable to her first.
Well, I think that, yeah, exactly. Being vulnerable first, being like, listen, I feel very sad about this. I'm really struggling. How are you feeling? And even, it doesn't even have to maybe be super sad at first. It could be, hey, you know what? I've been thinking about so-and-so. Let's do something together to celebrate him. Maybe like mom takes you out for ice cream today. We could FaceTime while we eat it. Let's do something that he loved to do and really just celebrate him. If the emotional is hard, because it is. And did he say she was 13?
Yeah.
That's so young.
Yeah.
But it's such an important age. It's such an important age because she's about to burst into womanhood.
Yeah.
She's going through puberty, she's adolescent.
Yeah.
So but it's such an important age to actually build these skills and tools right now.
And say it's okay to be emotional. Like you said, like crying is not embarrassing. Crying is like, listen, we all do it. And like you said, don't apologize for it. And I think her learning that at this age will be massively important. And grief therapy. I think insurance should cover some of that as well.
Oh yeah,
Grief therapy if he has.
If there's a way to have her or her and your mom come to visit you, so like you don't have to go to a place that's triggering, but like maybe it's just your sister, and it's like that's a pretty big age gap, like 14 years. It's hard to know what to say to somebody who's 14 years younger than you, but even giving her something to look forward to that's a month or two down the road of like, I'm going to see my like cool gay brother in whatever city he lives in. Having that to look forward to, I think, can be really helpful in addition to the therapy. And then also like not feeling like you have to talk about it right away, give it a day or two in before you bring it up while you're doing an activity, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying be aggressive or be persistent, I don't mean to hammer her. Like you don't want to hammer because then people will get turned off, but you have to like create a path of vulnerability between the two of you so that at least she thinks she has a confidant in you. At least she'll know.
Yeah. Like check-ins. Hey, how you doing today? But that's exactly it. It's that consistency is so important.
Like no one did that with me.
Yeah.
No one said, everyone was in their own grief. So no one came and said, we need you to talk about it.
Yeah.
And when they did try to talk about it later, too much time had passed. So I was like, oh, no, that's shut. We don't talk about that anymore. I won't talk to. My mom would be like, don't you miss your brother? And I would leave the room. I'm like, you don't get to talk to me about my brother.
That's a lot. You have your grief, and then you have the secondary grief of, okay, my parents just lost somebody. And for 9 years old, I don't blame you for having a scar over that wound and being like, I'm all set. Don't open it, please. That was painful enough. Do you feel like that with your family
Absolutely.
too?
I mean, I would turn the question. I mean, it was devastating to see my parents so devastated.
Yeah.
So with my dad, I was disappointed in him for not being able to get it together.
Yeah.
And my mom, I felt so badly for, but my mom was able to get it together sooner.
Yeah.
So it was easier to watch than my father's basically emotional demise after my brother.
Yeah. Which is its own grief.
Well, but I would actually turn the question back to you. Like, how is it now that you're older, seeing your parents grieve?
Yeah, it is. It is its own grief. It's its own grief for sure. It's so many layers, I think, with grief. It's the grief, my kids don't have their uncle around. It's the grief of seeing my parents, the sibling loss. Sibling loss in our society is not really talked about. Right. It's really not. It's its own thing. Also, I think that back to Colton, like, maybe saying to her, like, just so you know, people say, oh, there's 5 stages to grief. That's bullshit. There's like so many stages. Saying it's okay if you feel angry, little sister. It's okay if you feel sad. It's okay to laugh too, by the way. Like it's okay to if that helps you cope. Just saying it's okay to feel these things,
Yeah, I wish there was a good book to give her at 13. I'm trying to think of what a good book on grief is, but I'm coming up empty-handed. I haven't read a book on grief. Yeah. All I keep thinking about is Joan Didion's book, but that's not good for a 13-year-old.
Yeah, but it is a good book.
Yeah.
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 Well, why don't we have listeners write in, and if you have suggestions, we'll pass them along to Colton.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, why don't we take our last break and we'll come back to wrap up. I have a question that's very specific for Hunter also.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Hunter and I are going to take a bath and we'll be right back. And we're back.
We are back. Now, this question at first blush doesn't seem like something that you would ask a supermodel.
At first blush. Ooh.
But I know gun reform is something you've been really passionate about, and you're
Gun
going
reform?
you're going to the White House, right?
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. Very excited.
Which brings me to the question. So Alicia says, and she's actually written it a couple times, so I'm glad that you're here to talk about this. Alicia says, Dear Chelsea, I'm a 29-year-old female married to a 30-year-old male. He's in the Army, and I'm in sports medicine. I don't like guns. I believe the world would be safer without them, and he, on the other hand, wants multiple guns and stated, I will have an AR-15.
Oh.
I did let him get a handgun because he's been robbed and feels safer with a gun. I do not feel safe living with an AR-15 in the house or multiple guns. I do have a history of self-harm and mental illness, so that makes me very cautious around weapons. My husband says it's controlling that I will not live in a house with more than one gun.
Yeah, controlling your safety.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I do not want even one, but he wants one for protection, so he got one. Now he says he wants more and to collect them. Help.
No.
Am I being
No.
unreasonable, Alicia?
You're being reasonable. You're a woman. What woman wants fucking guns around?
Right.
And with a history of self-harm, this is a no-brainer. This is, hey,
Tell them
bud,
to get a new
It's
hobby.
a deal breaker.
get a new fucking hobby.
Yeah, get a new hobby. You're not being unreasonable.
Get a new
You
husband.
don't need a
Get a
semi-automatic
new husband.
Yeah, or get a new husband. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That's not that's not an issue that someone feels so passionately about in the way that like I need more guns to make me feel better. I
Right.
want to collect them.
Yeah.
That's unreasonable.
It's not like I don't like cats. Don't get a cat. It's like this is
Right.
my safety.
Uh-huh.
The Go Safe Act is basically the act that needs to be signed to reinstate a ban on assault weapons.
Mm-hmm.
We don't fucking need AR-15s. We don't need access to them. It is a law that was already passed from 1994 to 2004. And the moment it stopped, you can look at all the stats, everything started to rise up as far as like mass shootings and stuff. As a mother, first and foremost, every single day I'm worried about my son going to school because you look at history and what these people are using. They're using AR-15s. Nobody needs access to an AR-15 unless you are in combat. There's no need for it. And again, this is a nonpartisan organization. So it's not saying, oh, we're banning the Second Amendment. We're banning your right to bear arms. I grew up with my dad who was a hunter. We were taught gun safety. We were taught all those things. But nobody needs
A
access to an
semi-automatic
AR-15.
weapon. It's so
yeah.
fucking
Which is-
stupid.
Yeah. And it's, like you were saying, an AR-15 is used for one thing, and that's an act of war. That's
That's it.
not something you need in your household.
I actually got into an argument over this with a guy on DMs, and he was like, "But I use them for hunting. It's so great for hunting." I was like, "Get a better aim." Get a better aim. And he was like, touche. Because I'm like, if that's really what you're going to use it for.
I mean, is that how you hunt? By taking a fucking sawed-off shotgun into the fucking woods?
Right.
And spraying bullets?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're not a very good hunter then, you
Right.
fucking moron.
Right. Literally.
Oh my God.
Right,
Any
right.
argument about a semi-automatic weapon makes me sick to my stomach. I can't even believe people think that they need something like that. Self-protect.
I know.
Right. So I would say, Alicia, I think this is a deal breaker. If he really feels like he needs that, then I don't think he needs to have you in his life.
This is like one of those ones where I would say give him an ultimatum.
Yeah.
If you really feel so strongly about that, then
Mhm.
sayonara.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. But your podcast with your sister, I also want to mention before we leave, is really fun for listeners. And you guys love doing it together.
Yes, it's called the Model Citizen Podcast. We drop every Thursday. We talk about everything. Like, we are here to talk about everything from sex to we get deep into there's nothing off limits basically, right? Like it's girlfriends hanging out, talking about the things that no one wants to talk about out in the world. And we're very bold and brazen with it. And it is so much fun.
Yeah. And you're doing this series right now that's like Self-Love Summer.
Summer of Self-Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had some amazing guests on basically saying like, what are some tools that we can use in our own personal toolbox to love ourselves a little bit better. Like, how can we do this? And again, we touch on subjects like, how can we do that in bed, like with our partners? How can we do that in life? How can we've had fitness experts on, how can we get into the gym without feeling shamed for wanting to go to the gym and be better? And it really kind of delves into so many different aspects of our life. And it's been really, really cool that now we're kind of also going to go into the fall with it, since it's gotten such a great response.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hunter McGrady.
Thank you.
How fun.
Thank you so much, ladies. This is so much fun.
Thank you so much. And you'll hear us again next week. Goodbye.